you would lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Stand as you may. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we'll have a roll call. I'll call the commissioners' names if they can just indicate present. Commissioner Ghosh.
Present.
Commissioner Umarani.
Present.
Commissioner Tang.
Present.
And myself, John Ag. Okay. No alternates. So has everybody had an opportunity to read the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, then can I have a motion?
Chair Ag, may I just, real quick, may I just call attention to the fact that we did have a typo on an earlier agenda that went out where we were missing item 9A as election of officers. So that's the one at the beginning of your packet, and that should be the agenda that you're voting on right now. Thank you.
Is that, do all the commissioners have the same agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Sandeep?
Sorry, I had some speaker phone issues.
That's okay. Could you just confirm that you do have the correct agenda?
Yeah, I should have. Like, I received an updated email.
Okay, so
let me check. So it was sent on 24th, right?
yeah, if you look at the second page, 9A has been added.
Okay.
Election of officers.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
And Benjamin Tan?
Yes.
Great. Okay. All right. So we'll have then a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Benjamin. Do we have a second?
I, Joyita Ghosh.
Thank you. Okay, so all those in favor?
I do.
Commissioner Ghosh?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Commissioner Tang?
I do.
And myself. All right. So now an approval of the meeting minutes for November the 23rd. Has everybody had a chance to look at that, review it?
Yes.
May I have a motion then, please?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Ghosh.
I second. That's Commissioner Umrani.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor?
I,
Commissioner Umarini?
Aye.
Okay, Commissioner Tang?
Aye.
And I for myself. Okay. I don't know whether you have anybody on public forum, but I'm going to go ahead and read it anyway. Those interested, I'm sorry.
I said we do have people in.
We do. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Those interested are invited to address the commission on any subject not on the agenda orally via Zoom webinar. Instructions are included. Speakers may provide their name and city of residence for the record. And comments may be limited to 3 minutes. I'm going to make it 2 minutes this evening because we have a fairly extensive agenda, or less. As an item not listed on the agenda, no response is required of the commission or staff. However, commission members may request staff to add the item to a future meeting agenda. This public meeting will be led with professionalism, respect, and civility, so profanity and/or vulgar language will not be allowed. Thank you. So Tegan, if we can set this up for 2 minutes, then.
Sure. And you have one hand up, Robert Jung.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Robert Jung. I live here in the city of Milpitas. I just wanted to offer that or let you guys know that we recently completed a contest basically across the city for the Milpitas Strong Art Contest. And we've now have completed that. We have winners, but I would like the commission to consider taking all of the entries and seeing if that is appropriate to place in your Phantom, let's see, Phantom Gallery. Did I say that right? And if so, please feel free to contact me and we can get those to you, as well as if you want to check our website. We do have those on our website, which is actually at mcefoundation.org. And if you look under programs, look for Milpitas Strong Art Contest. Other than that, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Jung. Tegan, if you want to, you're going to follow up and respond to. Okay, thank you. And that is the only public forum?
Yes, I don't see anyone else with their hand up to speak on an item not on the agenda.
Okay. Then the next would be announcements.
I do have one quick announcement, and that was that the City Council has made some changes to the bylaws. I will share with the commissioners the updated handbook, but just calling your attention to a couple of changes that affect us. The mayor was speaking about them prior to our meeting beginning. There are now no term limits. Officers can serve 3 consecutive terms. And we are now having 1 youth commissioner per commission. So all of the commissions now have a youth commissioner. We previously had 2 slots for youth commissioners. We will have 1 now. So that concludes the announcements.
Okay. Thank you, Tegan. So we move on to item 9, business items. And the first is 9A, election of officers. Do you want to read the outline, Tegan?
I won't read the whole thing, but I'll skim through it. Sure.
Okay.
The chair and vice chair are to be selected annually at the first meeting of the calendar year and are appointed for a term of 1 year. The chair's responsibility is calling meetings to order, stating the items to be discussed, permitting all members of the public to have an opportunity to be heard, permitting all members of the commission to have an opportunity to be heard, calling for votes as required, and working with the staff liaison to ensure successful meetings. And the vice chair's role is to serve as the chair whenever the chair is absent. No commissioner may serve more than 3 years as the chair or vice chair. Commissioner Ag, you've served 2 years, and no other members on the body have served in either capacity. So I think you can now begin with your election, and typically you accept nominations for the positions, confirm that the nominated individual is willing to serve, and then make a motion regarding the chair, vote on that, and then make a motion regarding the vice chair and vote on that.
Okay. All right. So then we'll open up, and we'll do them sequentially. So we'll open up with nominations for the chair. Well, everybody's staying silent, but I will put my name in the hat. I will tell you I've got 1 more year, and I enjoy the position, but I enjoy the company of the commissioners that we have. So I'm just hoping between now and the time that my term expires, that we have a few more commissioners with the same enthusiasm that we presently have now. So are there any other nominations?
How do I say that I support you as the chair? So,
Joyita, you can say anything you like.
so okay, I support you as the chair,
Thank you.
current
Thank
chair.
you. So do we have to have a vote on this?
Have to have a vote, yes.
Well,
Okay.
let me jump in here. I know. I want to. This is a great experience to be on a commission or even the council. You know, we do have Robert's Rules of Order and the procedural things. So, you don't want to have fun here. So, what you're gonna say is, I make a motion to nominate John Ag to be reappointed as chair. Yeah, and then that's the proper kind of.
Thank you, man. That's fine. No.
Yeah. Because here's the thing. I want everybody to learn.
Yeah,
These are the skills
absolutely.
that carry you on
Yep.
throughout government here. So I want So let's go back and if you want me, I can say it and you can repeat it, or if you know it, you can say it.
No, Commissioner.
I would really appreciate it if you'd say it once more.
Okay, great. So as a commissioner, you have a vote on this commission, and so this is like your power here. So you get to say this, and you can repeat after me. I would like to make a motion
I would like to make a motion
to nominate John Ag
to nominate John Ag
to be reappointed to the chair.
to be reappointed as the chair.
That's it. Yeah, and I see you taking notes. That's great.
Yeah,
And so
I love
there-
it. Thank
So now
you.
have, yeah, you got it. See, it's fun, right?
Yeah, it sounds real now.
You're a commissioner. You are an official person in the city, and I want to make sure that we bring you the excellence that you deserve. So now that there's a motion, it will take another person to do a second. And who wants to do it? I mean, I'm not. If you'd like.
I second.
Okay, great. Great, Benjamin. So we have a second by Benjamin. So remember, it takes a motion to start, a second to get it going. And so once there's a second, now it's everybody's turn to vote. And so now the chair will have to go along the lines for the full vote. Chair?
Yes. So we'll have a motion. Excuse me. We have a motion, and those in favor.
So everybody can say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
And then for the record, I think we should go individually. So Commissioner Ghosh.
What do I say? Just aye, Commissioner Ghosh.
Aye, Renee.
Commissioner Umarini.
Aye, Commissioner Umrani.
Thank you. And Commissioner Tang.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried. And I thank you.
That's how
I
it's going to work. And that was really great, everybody. I'll go ahead and be quiet now. I just wanted to.
No, it's okay.
You're going to have me here. I'm going to make sure you're going to,
Pity we can't have you as a commissioner.
No, not yet. but no, this is it. That's official city business right there.
Okay. So the next position is for the vice chair, and I go to the floor for any proposed suggestions. If none, I do have one. So I would like to propose Commissioner Ghosh as vice chair. She's been in total attendance. I don't think she's missed one commission meeting. And she is a lifelong fan of art and the artists, and she loves Milpitas. I believe that's true. So I'm putting forth, and I suggest and recommend that Commissioner Ghosh be considered for the vice chair seat.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So, Mayor Tran, I may ask on your prompting for that, just to make it formal.
Yeah, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna do it here. I just came from the Science Technology Commission meeting at 6 p.m. And so, you know, we got to show them that our commission's, you know, the best. I'm sorry, the best. Yeah. So we're going to show them how we do it. So now we have the chair. So we have a motion by the chair to nominate Commissioner Ghost for the vice chair position. And, you know, we talk about motions all the time. Just imagine it as putting a plate on the table or a bowl of fruit. And so a motion is just that first bowl on the table with apples and oranges. And so the chair, please, can you make the motion here?
The chair has a motion to place Commissioner Ghosh as the vice chair for this coming year. And I'm looking for acknowledgement from the
So now
commission.
you're looking for, so the main thing is the motion, the keyword motion. After that, you can really say however you want to say it.
Okay, all right.
But what's really great you just did there, Chair, was you said, I'm looking for a second.
Okay.
Because that's not always given. You know, sometimes you might make a motion and no one's going to second you. And it's like putting out your hand to shake someone else's hand, and they don't put their hand out.
I know, and I've had that, Mayor. So.
Yeah, and so when you ask, I'm looking for a second, it's kind of a gesture, and someone else is, you know, when someone asks for a second, you want to be a good friend or a good person.
Okay.
So, is there anybody else that would like to reach out and shake the chair's hand with a second?
I'll shake your
This is
hand, John.
There it is. See?
Thank you, Benjamin. Thank
was
you.
that Mr. Umarani? Was that you that seconded it, or was it someone?
I was going to, but Benjamin
Oh,
already
it was
did.
Benjamin, huh?
Commissioner Tang said yes.
Okay, great. All right, so Benjamin, you're gonna go. I second the motion. That's it. Second the motion.
I second the motion.
Boom, there it is. And then take a look
Thank
back
you,
at
Commissioner Tang. Okay, so we'll have all those that say aye.
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 Good. Commissioner Ghosh? You're going to say aye?
Aye.
Good. Commissioner Umarini?
Aye.
Commissioner Tang?
Aye.
And I say aye. Wonderful.
Congratulations, Chair Ag and Vice Chair Ghosh.
Thank you.
We all make a good team now, don't we? Good. Let's see. So that is it. I think we've got, we have the chair and vice chair all settled now, so we move on. And this is the meat and potatoes for this commission tonight, I
Yeah.
think. And that
This is the big deal.
yes. The review of public art selection criteria. And Keegan, would you like to take the floor?
I would, and I would like to ask for IT's assistance because I don't seem to be able to load up the PowerPoint from my end.
Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to take my jacket off.
Is
Fortunately,
there a comment from a public comment, Mr. Mehta?
There was a hand up that came up after your public comment period, but Mr. Mehta has left the meeting.
Oh, okay.
I don't believe there is a comment right now. Mike, are you able to help me out by sharing? Thank you.
Ooh,
There we go. Okay, public art selection criteria. So this will be a fast review on how we choose public art, especially because it's been a while since we've chosen any, and some of you are new since the last time we have done this. Just as a very quick start, let's define public art as it's defined in Milpitas. Next slide, please. Public art is an enduring original artwork located on, affixed, or applied to city property. Our public art ordinance requires that it be of the highest quality and craftsmanship, and that we consider historical, geographical, and social and cultural context, that the artwork be proportional to the building or property it relates to or is cited upon, and that it is displayed in a manner which will enhance the enjoyment of the general public. Next slide, please. Your role as commissioners is to ensure that the artist we choose is professional and has the experience to successfully deliver the finished product, to ensure that the proposed artwork is original and high quality, both in terms of materials and design, to ensure that the proposed artwork is suitable for the location in terms of the scale and the style, to ensure that the proposed artwork is durable, especially that it's easy and inexpensive to maintain, and to ensure that the proposed artwork generally meets the accepted community standards of appropriateness. Next slide, please. Additionally, your role is to take into account any public feedback that might be received and or request staff to solicit additional feedback as needed. Request any desired or necessary modifications to the selected design. And you need to, if you choose to do that, indicate whether your approval is contingent upon the modification. I'd like to remind everybody that artists have the right to withdraw the proposal if they do not wish to make the modification that the commission has requested. If none of the submitted designs are acceptable to you, the commission may request that staff reissue the call for artists and possibly make changes to the call for artists if you didn't get what you were looking for this time around. And then finally, select artwork to recommend to the city council. The city council is ultimately responsible for approving public artwork selections. So this body is making a recommendation. And that's the very quick review of the criteria. Does anybody have any questions before we dive into the proposals?
Tegan, when the city council is going to select the artwork, is the art commissioners going to be present at that time or no?
We'd love to have the arts commissioners present or an arts commissioner present. Likely the item would go on consent to city council unless they chose to pull it off, because usually you're recommending just one artwork and there's not a decision to be made between several on their end. It's just a yes or no.
Yeah, you know, we've the Arts Commission is one of the top commissions in town, just because I look at this commission you're on.
Mayor Tranner, speaking of this, I can't quite hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
No, it's coming through very blurry.
Yeah, I think you need to start over.
Is it better now?
A little bit.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you know, what's really unique about the Arts Commission is that there's a budget, and it's a pretty big budget because it's funded by the developer fees here in town. If you look at any new housing construction, for example, new apartments or condos, they are required to pay a fee associated with the project, and there's an arts fee, and that's why this commission is so special. I think everybody is, you know, these arts commissioners are so special because you get to not only spend the art fees that our city government collects, but you get to choose. You know, Tegan is really going over some of the fundamentals as some of you may be relatively newer to the commission. You know, you're going to be able to make some really big decisions for artwork that's going to last 100 years here in town. So just really enjoy watching our city staff here bring you through it. But to answer your question, yeah, when this commission makes a decision on an art project, it'll come to the city council for approval because it has money associated with it, spending government dollars. And we'll take a look at your this commission's top recommendation. And sometimes there's two different recommendations. Let's say you're trying to build a kind of art structure of some sort. And sometimes there'll be one recommendation or two or three. And so it's presented to us by staff and the chair usually. That's why leadership for any commission is key, and the chair. But really at any time, we're the type of city of public comment. Everybody can have an opportunity to speak to, but as with any body of collective individuals, the chair, that's what the chair is for. But that's the long answer to your short question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have, very quickly, Tegan, one question related to the parameters for the commissioner. There was no reference in your summary to probably one of the most important assets the city has, which is the multicultural society community that we have, the diversity. And not that I'm saying that this would slant in any way how I view the current presentations and this present project, but I'm hoping that at some point we will be able to define perhaps as part of the overall guidelines, something that reflects the need for recognizing the diversity of the community. Very, very important, because I think that's one of the gems of our city, is the fact that we are so multicultural.
Yeah.
Maybe we can put it on, included in the work plan, or as a future suggested item for the agenda.
That sounds like the kind of thing that you might want to put in a formal public art master plan. A lot of cities, that's where they indicate it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have one of those at the moment, but definitely if the commission would like to consider that as a project for next year, that would be a good thing to consider.
I think that would be a great idea. A great idea. Thank you. Okay. So now, is there an introduction to 9C taken for us?
Well, 9C, just the whole report. I will give you the whole report, and we have a
You got it.
lovely slideshow for you.
You got it. Okay.
Thank you, Mike. So we're going to go over our submissions that we've received and have an opportunity for you at the end to hear from the public. If they have any feedback on any of these items, you may discuss and ask questions of the artists if they are in the audience. I know that we have a few who might be with us. Next slide, please. Thank you. The mural site that we're looking at is the Montague Pedestrian Overcrossing, which is the pedestrian bridge across the street at Montague from the Edge apartment complex over to the parking garage at the Milpitas Transit Station. And so it's basically connecting the BART side of the street with the Great Mall side of the street. And the art area is directly in front of the Edge apartments, which are a complex of 1 to 2 bedroom apartments targeted to young tech professionals. They bill themselves as being, convenient to transit and dining and shopping and all kinds of, things that folks might need. The art space that's available, the total art space is 629 square feet. Most of that is on the Edge side of the street. There is some that has been designated by the engineers as available for us on the other side of the street. You've seen the blueprints prior to get a better sense of what is available to us. Artists can propose to use all of that to 629 square feet or some portion of it. And you'll see that we have a variety of proposals before us tonight. Next slide, please. So our first proposal is from Amanda Lynn. And Amanda Lynn is a muralist and fine artist and art conservator since 1998. She has a BFA in art from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco and a fairly extensive mural portfolio with 36 plus murals. Some of the murals that are in the Bay Area include the Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, Minna Alley, and Mission Bernal, which are all in San Francisco. She has participated in Powwow International Mural Festival, and that is the big festival for murals that travels around from city to city. She also has work for the Arlington, Texas Museum of Art and international clients in the Cayman Islands, Australia, New Zealand, and Mexico. She is based in Forestville in Sonoma County. And as you'll recall, we opened our call to all of the Bay Area counties. So that is definitely within our area. Next slide, please. I'm going to zip through people's portfolios fairly quickly with just a little bit of facts about each that you're seeing. There are 2 murals on this page. The top one was done in 2018 for the Grand Cayman and the Cayman Islands. The artist shared with us that the price on this one was $20,000. The one below it is a personal project that she did during the pandemic and gave as a gift to her community in Forestville. Next slide, please. The top slide is a smaller mural for Modern Eden Gallery in San Francisco that had a $5,000 price tag. Below that is one that is on display at Port Adelaide in Australia with a $7,500 price tag. Next slide, please. Top one is in Prim, Nevada, and that is $20,000 a piece. And the bottom one is a private home, and that is a smaller mural at $4,000. All of the artists were given the opportunity to give us 6 different pieces to see pictures of. So there'll be any number up to 6. Next slide, please. Amanda Lynn's proposal is to create a mural for us that features local wildlife, flowers, plants, and insects. And she's proposing to add lighting effects for evening viewing. She's proposing to cover all of the available area. They have included their paint information. I don't know how much that's important to you guys, so I'll probably gloss right over that. Timeline on this one is about 17 days of painting on site. And she does propose to use the entire $15,000 budget on artist fee, materials, lighting, design, and installation, which would include some engineering, equipment rental. Most of them you'll see will be renting equipment, scaffolding kind of stuff, and accommodations, since obviously she lives in Sonoma. If she's here for 17 days, she'll be staying down in Milpitas. She's estimating the mural lifespan at 10 years. And let's look at what she's proposed. Next slide, please. So this gives you an idea of what we're talking about. Very colorful design, again, with plants and flowers and animals of the area. And she has superimposed it upon a photograph of the space. But of course, you're seeing the construction barriers and stuff sort of in the way right here. But it does give you a general idea of the scope of the piece. Next slide, please. Move on to another proposal. This one is by Angel Beltran and Sasha Chavez. And Angel is an animator muralist since 2009 who attended Cogswell College and is currently based in San Pablo, which is in Contra Costa County. Angel has 4+ murals in their portfolio, and clients include Cogswell College, City of Pittsburgh, and Small World Park in Pittsburgh. Angel has also worked as a mural instructor for high school students. Angel's assistant, Sasha, is a visual designer since 2019, so a pretty recent graduate. She has a BS in entertainment design and media management from Cogswell College and is based in San Jose. Let's look at their portfolio. Next slide, please. I don't have a lot of information about the murals, but as you can see, first one is an outdoor mural. Second one looks like it's an indoor mural. Both look like they've kind of been done with some spray paint technique. Next slide, please. This mural is much more detailed, different style than the first one. I believe the second piece is not a mural. I think that that's a smaller work of art. Some of them have included paintings in their portfolios for us. Next slide, please. Mural on the bottom 100 block is featuring work of 100 different artists. So Beltran and Chavez have a piece in here somewhere, and I'm not entirely certain which one it is. And then this piece is was described to us as an album cover, so not a mural, but another illustration. Next slide, please. Their proposal to us is to do a dreamscape of the hills with UV paint and black light to reveal Milpitas at the base of the hills at night. If you'll recall, you expressed interest in a dynamic mural that might change with lighting and look different at different times. And so this artist pair has provided that for you. They are proposing to cover all the available area. Again, I'll skip over what brands of paint. About 2 weeks to do the painting on site. The budget includes the artist and assistant fees, materials, black lighting, design and installation and equipment rental, and mileage. They're estimating a 30-year lifespan for their mural. Next slide, please. And then this is the actual proposal of the mural, and you can see what it looks like in the daytime and in the evening. And I don't know if you can see Milpitas very well here. I can't see it too well on my screen, but hopefully you can see it better in the packet that went to you. But the buildings of the city show up down here when you look at it at night. Next slide, please. This next proposal is from Community Express Coex, which describes itself as a nonprofit seeking to improve transportation spaces and using art and community engagement. And they've partnered with artist Francisco Ramirez, who specializes in murals and commissioned fine art paintings. I do have some clarification on Coex. I wasn't quite certain when I made this presentation. They're more of a grassroots organization. They're not yet a nonprofit, but they are fiscally sponsored by Luna. Some of you might know Luna. It's Latinos United for a New America. So they are an up-and-coming nonprofit, but not quite a nonprofit yet. Mr. Ramirez has 15 large-scale collaborative and solo murals to his portfolio. His clients include the Obayashi Corporation, Suffolk Construction, and the Land Trust of Silicon Valley. He did grow up in San Jose and is a graduate of James Lick High School. Next slide, please. Mr. Ramirez's portfolio, the piece on the left is on a construction wall. He's done a fair amount of work beautifying construction walls in San Jose, and this is for SJSC Towers for Suffolk Construction. I'm not quite sure about the turtle. I think the turtle is a painting rather than a mural, as no location was given. Next slide, please. The top piece is a mural for the Land Trust Silicon Valley at Coyote Ridge. And the bottom piece is another construction mural for Spark in San Jose. Next slide, please. The top two are actually the same work of art, and it's on a private home. And the bottom one is yet another construction wall. This is for Quetzal Gardens low-income housing for the Obayashi Corporation. Next slide, please. Their proposal is to do a mural of the work of workers, which would include auto workers, farm laborers, and local butterflies at the top of the mural. They're proposing to paint the stair base and the pillar, which was not an area that we originally identified, and under the stairs, which was also not an area that we originally identified. Again, when the artists are proposing these areas that were not part of engineering's original area, we can certainly check with engineering and see if they're willing to let us paint on those surfaces, or with the artist and see if they're willing to alter the proposal to paint on the surfaces where we are allowed to do so. They're estimating about 14 days to paint this. The budget has the artist's fee, materials, and equipment rental. And they did clarify for me, since I indicated to them that the Public Art Fund monies cannot be used for monies to third-party organizations. It's really all toward the art, that the individuals from COEX actually do assist Mr. Ramirez in the painting. So rather than a donation to COEX, it's really an artist assistant fee that they would be putting into their budget. They did not indicate the mural lifespan. Next slide, please. Thank you. So here you can see the square wall would have a mural of auto workers. They had originally thought to include the Tesla plant, but I think they've gone a little bit back in history, and this is the more of the Ford plant. Farm workers on the triangular portion. You can see the pillar that they are proposing, which is has a tractor on it, and that's a pillar with traffic nearby. So kind of a nice tie-in there between the vehicle on the pole and the vehicles nearby on the surface of the road. And then you can also see the butterflies that they're proposing for underneath the stairs. Again, that's an area that we have not been given by engineering, so we would need to check to see if that was a possibility for us to use it. Next slide, please. Our next artist is Emily Lincoln, and Emily is artist in resident at Local Color, which is the San Jose Gallery. She has a BFA from Cal Poly, and her works are displayed in private collections in Long Beach, New York, Watsonville, Portland, and San Jose. And she is based in San Jose. Next slide, please. This work of Emily's is called Secret Mural, and it is at Local Color, the gallery in San Jose. And obviously you can see that it's in a sort of tucked away location, so people stumble upon the mural and are delighted to have found it in a hidden place. Next slide, please. And this is a piece from her personal collection, a painting rather than a mural. Next slide, please. Ms. Lincoln is proposing for us a concept called Impossible Stairs. And she says it's a reminder to see things from other perspectives, simple, abstract, to complement the existing triangular shape of the fins. It also has a wayfinding component. Oftentimes public art has an image on it that sort of tells you what it is. And in this case, it is on the stairs, at the base of the stairs, and it is stairs, so it will help you know, oh, I'm in the right place to go up the stairs to cross the bridge. It is reflective at night. The areas that she's proposing to cover are the stairway north wall and south wall, which are the triangles, and the east portion, which is the square. Timeline is approximately 1 week to paint on site. Her budget is, you'll notice, much smaller than the $15,000 that we've offered. She's not proposing to paint all the available space. And I am not sure, but in many cases we can negotiate with artists if we would like for them to paint more than they've proposed. And we could certainly explore that with Ms. Lincoln if you're interested. Mural lifespan is estimated at 15 plus years. Let's take a look at the artwork. Next slide, please. So she's given us 4 different renderings here, so you can see what it looks like in the daytime on the upper left-hand side. And below that is the daytime with the flash of a camera. And so you can see the reflection added in there. The upper right is nighttime with the flash of a camera. And the lower right is nighttime just with ambient reflection from car headlights and whatnot. So kind of different images depending on what time of day you're looking at the piece. Next slide, please. Our next artist is Alice Lee. Miss Lee is a muralist and illustrator whose past works include a mural exhibition at the Asian Art Museum, a participatory installation at XOXO. She was a guest artist for Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign and hosts an Adobe drawing show called Doodle Therapy. She has done murals for City of San Jose, for the Powwow Mural Festival. She has clients including Coach, New York Times, Chipotle, Facebook, Google, Slack, Pinterest, and Macy's, and is based in Cupertino. Next slide, please. The top mural is at Autodesk's headquarters. The bottom is was part of the Asian Art Museum's display, and I'm not entirely clear if it's still up, but it sounded like that was an installation that may have been a temporary installation. Next slide, please. These 2 were for the local Powwow Mural Festival in San Jose. Next slide, please. The one on the left is called Bright Eyes. I'm not entirely clear if that is in a business or a personal office, but an interior space of some sort. And the one on the right is at a Phil's Coffee. Next slide, please. For us, Miss Lee is proposing to do a rainbow of whimsical native flowers with a central character, reminding the viewers to stop and smell the flowers. She's proposing a 9-foot by 11-foot wraparound of the stair base. So that would include that center wall and then the 2 triangles on either side, with 2 to 3 weeks of painting on site. Her budget, she's going to use the entire $15,000 for artist fee, materials, mileage, and insurance. Lifespan of the mural was not indicated. Next slide, please. And here's what it looks like. You can see the top version with it sort of unfolded. And then if you look below, you can see the mural with it wrapped around the staircase. So the girl in the center is on the square panel, and then the 2 triangular panels would have flowers on them. Next slide, please. Our next artist is Adrian Lippmann. That should be a familiar name to you. Adrian's a former graphic designer and corporate art director who now specializes in civic, corporate, and private commissions. He has a master's degree from the University of Bucharest Art Institute, and he has a lot of works here in Milpitas. You will recognize him with Senior Center mural and sculptures and mosaic, all at the Senior Center, the fireplace mosaic. He did the Alviso Adobe Farm Wagon, and he has some artwork at the Centerpoint condos, also did a bus stop here in Milpitas. He's got public art in Campbell, Los Altos, Mountain View, Stanford University, and Kaiser Hospital in Fremont, among many others. He is based in Santa Rosa, which is in Sonoma County. Next slide, please. This is his latest piece at Centerpoint, the new condos here in Milpitas. Next slide, please. The upper left is, well, actually it's the upper and lower left, I guess, 2 different views of the same artwork. That's the Senior Center mural with historic figures from Milpitas's past. And the other piece on the right is a bus stop bus shelter out at the Great Mall on Great Mall Boulevard. Next slide, please. The one on top is a historical mural for the city of Elk Grove. And the one on the bottom is for Parktown Place in Campbell, which I believe is a residential development. Next slide, please. Adrian's concept for us is a montage of historical images to be coordinated with the Milpitas Historical Society and other community input. He has not indicated the amount of area to be covered, but he has indicated that he would, rather than painting it directly on the surface, prefer to silk screen it with marine grade paint on removable metal panels and clear coat with UV resistant protective coating. There are some advantages to having a mural that's made off-site and affixed to the display place, namely that if it needs repair, you can take a portion of it down, take it back to the shop and repair it and bring it in. That sometimes is less expensive on the repairs than if you were to have to bring an artist into town to repaint. Timeline for producing this is about 60 days to design and fabricate and 2 days to install. His budget includes artist fee, including community coordination. So that would be including time researching with the Milpitas Historical Society, materials, fabrication, transportation, and installation. Mural lifespan has not been indicated. He did say that the marine paint has a 7 to 10 year lifespan. So presumably at somewhere around that time, we would need to take the panels down and have them sent back to be repaired. Next slide. This is a rendering of the piece, and you can see the various stand-in symbols that he has included. And I know that that is, those are subject to change. Next slide, please. Our next artist is Orlu Arts, and the artist is Olivia Losi Unger, and she has a BFA and a painting certificate from the University of Pennsylvania. Has 5 murals as the designer and 18 murals as the lead assistant. Most are within the Philadelphia area. She has recently moved to San Francisco. Next slide, please. This is Olivia's portfolio. Interestingly, her work method is to paint on parachute material, and then that is affixed to the surface, and you can see that it takes the texture of the surface underneath when it's affixed and then clear coated multiple times to protect it as it's affixed to the wall. So it's a little bit different than painting on the surface of the wall, but also different from Adrian's proposal with the panels being affixed. This is permanent on the wall. It wouldn't be something that we would take off. Both of these are in Philadelphia. Next slide, please. The one on the left is at a preschool. The one on the right is at a restaurant. Again, both of these are using the parachute method. So you can see that that parachute method can cover quite a big area because it's covering the entire wall of this preschool. Next slide, please. The one on the left is at a spa, and the medallions on the right are a very recent one during the pandemic, May of 2020. And again, these are pieces in Philadelphia. Next slide, please. Orlu Art's concept for us is to use a native Muwekma Ohlone Indian pattern with vintage illustrations of native birds and flowers superimposed, and the colors chosen to mimic stained glass. The area that she's proposing to cover is 175 square feet, but she did note that she's open to doing more. And she mentioned that she would use that parachute cloth method, which is gaining popularity on the East Coast, and allows for a lot of detail as they're painting it in the studio and then adhering it to the wall. Timeline for installation would be late summer or mid-fall if we choose to have her do a larger area. The budget for that smaller area is $6,242. So obviously we have set aside $15,000. So you do have money to invite the artist to do more if you choose this one. The mural lifespan, she estimated at decades. So long time. Next slide, please. This is what the proposal for us looks like. So that blue and gold design is the Moakma-Ohlone pattern. And then you can see the birds and the flowers, all native species. And then you, on the right-hand side, can see how it looks when it's wrapped around the base of the stairs. Next slide, please. Our final proposal is from Ryan Peterson, and Ryan is a muralist and painter with 10 years experience in design and fabrication. He also does woodwork, metalwork, computer graphics, paint, videography, and automotive design. He's had commissioned murals for clients including the City of Petaluma, City of Mill Valley, City of Novato, various Lagunitas Brewing Company spots, and a couple of other interesting commissions that were not mural related include the 2018 Rugby World Cup trophies and a Lamborghini art car. He's had a solo exhibit curated by SF MoMA at the SF MoMA Artist Gallery Nordstrom, and he does live painting at festivals. So he certainly would be somebody that would be okay with people watching him while he paints. He's based in Pengrove, which is in Sonoma County. Next slide, please. These top three are from the City of Petaluma, and this is called Telephone Alley, and was a $25,000 commission. The piece below it is Sonoma Strong, and that one is 16 by 160 feet and was $20,000. Next slide, please. This is on the left, Copeland Street in Petaluma for Allied Restoration, and that was $15,000. And the one on the right is called Renew, and that's for the City of Mill Valley, $20,000. Next slide, please. This is Lagunitas Brewing on the left and AIG headquarters in San Francisco on the right. Both of those are $7,500 pieces. Next slide. Ryan's concept for us is a colorful abstract inspired by Milpitas's historic roots and high-tech architecture and the natural world. He's proposing to cover all the available space and possibly additional space if we're open to it. He's proposing for 1 month of painting on site, and his budget includes the artist fee, materials, site prep, equipment rental, travel, so the lodging while he's here, insurance and permits. And as far as mural lifespan, he indicated the top coat would last 10 years. So at the 10-year mark, we would need to replace the top coat. Presumably the artwork underneath it would be protected by the top coat. Next slide, please. And there is Brian's rendering, and you can see, as he said, abstract. I can't see too much detail in the rendering on my screen, but I know that, for example, the black and white, he had indicated in his proposal, if you remember, commissioners, when you looked through it, he had some images that he used as inspiration, and he had a photograph of Native Americans with body paint, and that looked like that might be the inspiration for that piece of the mural. So different pieces of the mural coming from different images that he found related to Milpitas. So that is the quick rundown of all 8 of our artists, and we can close our screen here and go back to seeing ourselves.
Good job, Tegan. That was a lot.
Mouthful, huh?
Yeah, well done, Tegan. Thank you. So let's lay out a strategy here on how we go about this.
Before you do that, did you want to hear from the public?
Well, that's a very good point. Yes, if there
You
are.
do You do have one hand up right now from a member of the public, Mr. Mehta.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I wanted to let the entire Arts Commission know about the upcoming summit, the international summit that is coming up as a part of arts and a culture festival within the Silicon Valley.
Mr. Mehta.
And also, hello, am I audible?
You are audible, but that should have been a public comment item. I believe we're restricted to comments on the item that's on the agenda right now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. What I would like to accomplish is that I wanted to let the arts and culture, the Arts Commission know that there are festivals that the city of Milpitas must consider, so that the youth as well as the next generation would be able to see that what are the different concepts, what are the different arts, what are the different exhibitions that can be brought to the city of Milpitas, and how
Wonderful.
the youth can be.
Let me interrupt. Mr. Mehta, I think we all welcome hearing this, and I have a better suggestion for you. I would like you, if you wouldn't mind, is just putting this in an email and sending it to Tegan McLean, and she will share that with us at the next meeting. If you were listening to the earlier part of the commission, we did discuss the need to try and define more effectively diversity and the cultural aspects of our community. And I think you're right on the ball there. So please send your recommendations, suggestions to Tegan McLean, and she will share those with us at the next commission meeting.
Sure. So I also wanted to emphasize the importance of art within the city of Milpitas, and also to consider that how the advisory body could expand themselves at the international level by signing up the memorandum with the different countries and bringing the trade patterns of different countries to the international affairs to the city of Milpitas. For example, the Mexican cultures exhibition at the different arts different arts festival schools.
Mr. Mehta, I got to jump in because we have a lengthy meeting here. You're preaching to the choir. I think all of us here on the commission are thoroughly recognize the need to find opportunities for sharing all the cultural aspects of the Bay Area. So please put them in an email, send them to Tegan McLean, and you've got her contact information on the city website, and we'll take it up from there. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.
Certainly. I also wanted to mention if any grant programs that can be included as well.
We've got to move on now. Okay, but I wanted to thank you for consideration of the comment, but I wanted to make sure that that is something be a part of a jurisdiction at the Art Commission and consider that by the bylaws of the government.
Mr. Mehta, I've put my contact information in the chat, so you can email me and I can pass that along to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let me. So I'm sorry. Is that the only other?
That's the only hand up right now. The others in the audience, I can tell, are all artists, and they're available if you have questions about their particular pieces. We would get to the discussion if you have a question. The ones in the audience, if you're interested, we have Amanda Lynn, we have Justin Triana, who is representing COEX. We have Olivia Lossiunger, and we have Ryan Peterson with us. So 4 of the 8 are with us.
Well, I've been making notes, so I think perhaps we'd like to hear from the individual artist, anybody that's present. And I don't know how you select them, but Tegan, maybe you can pick on one and bring them on.
Sure, I can, I guess, go alphabetically on my screen. And do you want to do a 2-minute?
I'd make it a little bit longer because I think, if that's okay, let's make it 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't tell the artists to be prepared to speak. They were prepared to answer your questions. So
Yeah. Okay. Can we ask a question?
Well, okay, I'm sorry. So there are two issues here. One is whether the artist just wants to further explain your present presentation, Tegan. Maybe they wanted to, and perhaps that's what we would start with. Then perhaps we can go back and talk to those same artists with questions we might have. I got notes on several of them.
okay.
Okay.
So start at the top, Amanda Lynn, and let Amanda Lynn share anything else that I may have missed in the presentation that she would like to include.
You're going to have to unmute, Amanda Lynn. There we go.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to look at our submissions. Did you wanted me to speak on my piece, or did you have direct questions?
We're going to ask you twice probably, but what I suggested is if you wanted to in any way embellish the presentation that Tegan had already made. If not, we'll wait until we've spoken with the other artists present and come back to you with questions we have.
Okay. I think Tegan did a great job. Kudos to you. That wasn't a very large presentation and you did a lot of research. So I had my illustration, but I definitely would be open to a lot of feedback. And I know that not necessarily being from Milpitas, I'm sure there's a lot of local flora and fauna and different elements that could be added to the piece. This was just sort of like personal understanding of Northern California. So I'm willing to expand and explore new imagery as well. And, I think my intention is always just to give people the opportunity to sort of see outside the industry and see what's actually going on around them and take a moment to recognize the nature around you, to just give you a breath of fresh air. So that's sort of my intention of my work. And thanks for, taking the time.
Your work is very beautiful, Amanda. The colors and everything is very bright, vibrant. And I just wanted to know whether you would be able to kind of incorporate some of the ideas we had, as in making it more diverse and a little bit of the history of Milpitas included in the painting. Would you be able to show us something similar to what, like an actual project would look like?
Yeah, I definitely do very detailed renderings before doing any kind of mural work. So if there was more input, this was something that I didn't have a lot of time to work on, I will admit. So, getting to know things a little more culturally. And I normally include figures. I didn't, because sometimes it's a little more universal if you don't include figures. So I'm also open to that idea as well.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Stay on the line though, or stay with us. We'll be back to you. I think all of the commissioners have a few questions.
The next person in my list I see is Justin Triano, who's co-ex, and I don't know if Justin has his artist with him or not. So if Francisco's with you, Justin, I think it's your turn to talk.
Hello, can you see me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can.
Awesome. Thank you for having us here, and thank you for accepting our proposal. Francisco is not here. He is taking care of his baby, who is ill, so I'm here on our behalf. Francisco has been a great muralist for our city in San Jose, and does a lot of work with different communities as well as developers and organizations. So his portfolio does speak very well of him. I do want to point out one of the things that interests this from our point of view is the transportation element. We really want to highlight that Milpitas is becoming a transportation hub in itself with VTA and BART, light rail, with all that coming together. We wanted to highlight that, and then the pedestrian bridge. So that's why we went with the Ford and the agriculture tractor. And that's something that we're interested in as well, is just how transportation and art works with each other. I was a part of, or our group was a part of the CWG for BART and Alum Rock. So we got to really look at Milpitas in general and kind of understand what Milpitas goals were as far as transportation. Projects like we've done before, we've done around pedestrian bridge, around a bike path. We're creating a community art trail working with Valley Water right now, as well as a sidewalk stamping along a bike boulevard. So we're really trying to incorporate those two. And I think that that's what our project is aiming for, is to go behind that theme. So we really appreciate you listening to us and asking questions. Thank you for your time.
Terrific. We'll be back to you. Thank you, Justin. Stay with us.
Next on my list is Olivia. I think you go by Liv from your portfolio.
Just stop the video.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes, welcome.
You guys for a second there. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. So I am a native San Franciscan. I just got back from working as lead assistant for 3 years in Philadelphia for a women-run owned and operated over 25 large-scale murals in the course of 3 years. So I'm coming back to San Francisco to do what I love in my favorite area in the whole world. So I just want to emphasize that I spent a lot of time researching the native people around Milpitas, and especially the Bay Area and the Ohlone tribe. And it was really important to me to honor their culture and their values in this mural, while also being site specific. So the colors and the vibe I went for sort of, complemented the overall bridge, which is going to be an art piece in itself with those beautiful rainbow fins. So that's why I sort of wanted to take a native pattern and make it sort of honor that bridge, sort of go with that color scheme and that brightness. And then I just also wanted to point out that the imagery over top of that pattern are native poppies, native hummingbirds. On the other side is also another native bird, and acorns, which were a staple of native diets and continue to be used in native cooking today. So the history of Milpitas is sort of in there. It's all entwined while also being colorful and modern and matching the bridge so that it's all one beautiful big art piece, sort of teamwork between artists.
And I think you indicated that you'd be willing to consider expanding that a little bit. Is that correct from your initial proposal?
Absolutely. I would actually prefer and would love to expand it. I struggled a little bit to read the architectural designs, and I wanted to give a very specific, perfectly done design that actually was the actual square footage. So I actually called Tegan right before I submitted and was like, I would love to do more. I just need like accurate dimensions. So I have more illustrations I can use. I have that pattern. I'd be happy to fill literally all the space within that budget. I just wanted to give a budget accurate to what I actually designed so that you guys can see what that would be, but I can guarantee it will fit within the budget for me to cover all of that space. I also do want to mention the parachute cloth method is so popular in Philadelphia and the East Coast because it lasts over 30 years easily with no touch-ups. It's like this sort of, in East Coast weather too, which is pretty intense. It is a sort of like a canvasy cloth, and I paint it in the studio, which is why my murals are so intensely detailed, because I can be inside, with a little brush. And then it's glued to the wall using like space age level glue. So it's permanent, it lasts way longer. I've seen walls crumble on the other side of the parachute cloth. So that's how strong it will be. It's pretty much bomb-proof.
How about scratches on it? Is it possible to scratch it?
You'd have to try really, really hard.
Okay.
So it'll actually, it'll hold up much better than your average painted thing because it doesn't peel, and the paint, each pigment when you paint directly on the surface reacts differently. So certain pigments will respond to sun worse than others, like yellows and reds tend to fade first. The parachute cloth completely eliminates that. Also do 3 coats of UV sealant, and that also works as a graffiti protectant. So you would have to try very, very, very hard to scratch it. And also for all of my murals, I offer free touch-ups. So if in 25 years, somebody comes and graffitis it, or like a car crashes into it, which is the only other way I can think major damage would happen using this method, I'm happy to fix it at no cost.
Thank you, Olivia.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Stand by, Olivia. We don't want to lose you.
Next, we have Ryan Peterson. Ryan? I think you're still muted.
Yeah, you're going to have to unmute. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for putting that presentation together. I know it was a lot of information. I don't want to hold you guys, too much. You guys, I think you reviewed, most of the material that was sent to you guys. And I know in the concept on my side that was presented, what you didn't see was the renderings in place on how that concept would actually be, implied into the various areas that you guys proposed.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, really the essence of the piece is more about, I paint with a lot with energy and motion, and it's hard to, have a static painting actually display motion and movement. So that's what I really try to do with my work is capture something that is, not just there to look at, but it engages the person to feel it and move around. And most of my pieces are so large when you come up to them and see them, it's, you stop for a minute. So one of the main things I do is do a lot of abstract work to engage people, to make it more, of a conversation, especially in public space where they may not realize they're having a conversation with it, but it's not super literal where they just look at it and it's a word that they see and they're like, they don't have the whole information. So what a lot of my murals tend to do is stop people for a moment, whether they're having a good or bad day, and, just ask them, kind of just check in with art. And I think that's kind of what I try to do with my artwork, is just engage people in a way that just takes them out of whatever they're doing for a minute to really, appreciate artwork. So as far as my concept goes, though, it's, I've studied some pictures. I'm not super familiar with the Milpitas area. But, I studied the pictures as much as I could and looked at the colors that were available in the surrounding areas. And then especially with the overpass that you guys are putting in with all the, the colors that are going in. And so the concept colors that I use just really try to complement the existing space that was already there. So that's kind of where my palette came from. But in terms of, any questions you guys have for me, I think I put together, in my proposal, again, a concept that I felt would work in that space. But again, I'm not set on it that that's what it has to be. Again, it was about, giving you guys the idea of, what it was about and how that would come about. But I paint digitally to show you guys, what it could be. But when I actually go in there, my process is so spontaneous that it'll kind of change depending on the conversations I'm having with people. And if you guys have the public around, sometimes the input from their conversations change the lines a little bit. So it becomes more of a conversation piece with the community. So, that would be my approach for this project is, you guys know what my style is and kind of what you would be getting, but how I get there is kind of the whole, collaboration with you guys and the public, and really working with the space when I'm actually there and producing a piece, because it tends to evolve for the better in most cases. So again, thanks again for, reviewing this panel, and I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have.
Thank you, Ryan. I know Sonoma very well, and I do have a friend who has a gallery up there, but I've never heard of Pengrove. Should I? It's got to be a very small place.
Pengrove is basically Petaluma. It's one little, it's a little more countryside Petaluma, but it's the last exit in Petaluma. If you miss it, you're on your way to Santa Rosa.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you. Stand by.
I will. Thanks.
So those are all the artists. Is that correct? Tegan?
That's everybody who's here today, right? They were not required to attend, so we didn't have everybody.
So let me go back to the commissioners. Do any of the commissioners at this point have any additional questions for those that are the artists that are present? I have a few, so just as Jada, do you have any further questions?
So for Ryan Peterson, I saw his painting, and I did, Tegan did mention that he was going to add, some of the Native American, there were some pictures, but I wasn't quite understanding how that was going to happen, visualize it as to where. It's a very beautiful piece, and it does go with what we have right now. It's, conforms with the colors and patterns of what we have, but it doesn't seem to capture some of the things that we wanted, like some history, some Native American work and things like that. Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, when I provided that Explore, which was one of the sheets, it was page 11. What it does is it takes the literal images of what I felt was, in your guys' description of what you were looking for. And so part of the roots of that, part of the roots of Milpitas, some of that imagery. So without painting it literally, if you look at my concept again, Tegan, you really captured it, because part of there's this dark and light contrast that was used a lot, on the native paints, on their body paint. So without painting literally, and this is part of the language that I've learned and creating murals to incorporate a very large, demographic of people from children to elderly and different nationalities, but is to produce a piece where the feeling is there and there's symbolism of it. It's kind of more primitive way of painting, but it's more, like hieroglyphics or cave paintings in a way where it's very simplified. And it's more about the imagery that suggests that, rather than literally painting a figure that represents the figure. Because if somebody sees a figure, they're like, oh, they have the whole story, right? But when somebody looks at the piece and then, and again, my concept is very abstract. So if I needed to put more, of an arm or a leg-ish in there, so you can actually see that it was more body paint, that would help, someone who is less abstract thinking and more literal thinking, like visualize that. But part of it too is when a plaque goes up and there's a statement about it, and once you read it, and then you'll go back and revisit the piece, because now you're like, oh, I missed that. So then you'll go back. So part of my design incorporates, there's a lot of feather-esque movement. There's a lot of white and dark contrasts, again, with the colors that is symbolic to the actual body painting, which is again more, the roots of where, we've all kind of come from. So it's not just specific to Milpitas, but it also is in line with the work that I do as an artist. But, the color palettes were more to the tribe local to that area and to the colors of that, to that area, because all the tribes have their own symbols and their own colors. And again, it's, my concept is I'd be happy to include some more, detailed information to help portray, what that is, if that's what you guys are looking for.
Well,
Thank you.
Question?
I'm not going to, let me paraphrase Commissioner Ghosh's question slightly differently. And that is that the interest, I think, is, and we can share this with the other artists too, is that this is a gateway, albeit not the only gateway to Milpitas, but because of the transit area, there'll be a lot of activity. That this is a first introduction to those coming from outside of the city to be introduced to Milpitas. And kind of like Pengrove, Milpitas is a very small little gem in between two very large fat cities. And we're very proud of our independence and the special nature of our particular city. We're also looking, and I should say I'm looking, but we're also looking for a way to introduce, in some fashion, Milpitas to those that visit us. And Ryan, I'm not in any way suggesting that that could take any form, any special form. I'm just saying that I think for the benefit of you and the other artists, it will help if there's some explanation within the artwork to what our city is all about. And it's going through a major transition. So there's a lot that we can talk about. So that's just my response, a suggested response, Ryan. Is there a willingness to collaborate to some extent with us? Okay.
Absolutely. And again, part of, me as an artist and just my understanding of my own life and the, people around me, and just part of my artwork is this moment of, you don't know if it's coming together or coming apart. And so my concept is also, it's this kind of vortex of this spinning of two things. It's kind of this roundabout, right? You look at it and it's swirling together. You don't know if it's coming together or you don't know if it's leaving. So, that transition and that gateway, being there and, going down the stairs and coming off from the street, the piece that I've designed kind of has that motion where no matter what angle you look at it, it's again, pulling you in and around. And so it's this kind of swirling of all these different things,
Gotcha.
Localized in one spot. So,
thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let's speak of COEX, Ramirez, Francisco, if we could join us.
We have Justin right now.
Oh, it's Justin. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Justin. Can we just explore a little bit more exactly how this would all come together? If there's a collaborative, would I be right in saying this is a collaborative between yourself and Francisco?
Yeah, I understand that it I guess maybe explained in a different way. We usually go through like foundations where they actually put this forward, where there is some sort of community attachment to it. Coming to a city, I know there's different restrictions, but just to make it clear that our participation would be labor as well, mostly labor, I would guess, is that we're also painting. He's the master artist. But we are the kind of the visionary lead. This is a project we've been kind of keeping our eye on, and we've invited Francisco Ramirez to be a part of this and deliver the visions that I guess we've been looking at for a while. But the funding that will come from public art will go to our labor and the execution assistance. We also have an interest in this, like I said, that we will try to do other synergy, build other synergy around, where this could be something that grows into something that we look at as art and transportation and can put into our portfolio for a larger stuff. Like I said, we have other projects that we I guess take stewardship of and kind of guide along. But yeah, it is a collaborative effort between our vision and Francisco Ramirez's execution.
So who will be painting this? Is it just Francisco Ramirez or there's someone else?
We have a team of young artists that we so what we do sometimes is we fundraise so that local artists can partake in, but they're like sound walls and fences, stuff with a lot less boundaries. So it's easier for the artist to develop. So it'll be me painting, it'll be Francisco painting, and then if we have some of our other youth involved, when I say youth, I mean like 22, 25, I'm a little bit older. So yeah, so it'll be the main painters would be me and Francisco Ramirez.
Thank you.
Sandeep, I haven't noticed you haven't come up with any suggestions or questions at this point, or Benjamin?
So I'm making notes, so I don't have any specific questions for Benjamin right now.
Well, that's fine.
Sure.
I did complain to Tegan earlier today that it would have been nice if we had a little bit more time because all of the submissions were superb, and there's a lot of detail there. And I think I could really admit that every candidate that submitted an application it was very impressive. They've done a lot of work, and I thank them all. Okay, so
I had a question on one of the artists, Emily Limkin, right? When I read about her installation, it almost seemed like there was, is it a 3D or is it just a painting? Because it sounded like it was a 3D installation, which, where the colors would change in the night and the color. So I couldn't quite understand that part. And it was very interesting for me when I read it, that it was an actual, because she said you shouldn't be hanging from it. And so this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, number 4.
Yeah, I think she was referring to you shouldn't be hanging from the staircase itself. Her piece is a 2D piece, two-dimensional.
2D. Okay.
Yes, but she's painting with reflective paint, and it's giving you the impression that it's 3D, I guess, because of the perspective. She mentioned that she likes to play with perspective a lot, so that's probably what's causing that effect.
Yeah, I did have a question, but Antigua, maybe she responded, or maybe you know a little bit about this, but this kind of paint, does it have the same life, and it's attractive to have something that can be viewed differently or seen differently, both in daytime and at night. But I'm just wondering whether it lasts long enough for us to really appreciate it.
I would have to do further research for you, I think, to give you that information. Right now, I'm just going on what artists have told us about how long their pieces are going to last, and sometimes people overpromise on the paint lifespan.
No, there is. She has mentioned that it has to be maintained, as in paint up to 2 times per year if necessary. Reapplying and paint touch-ups or reflective paint. So it is something that needs to, that's something we have to think about, maintenance. Yeah.
Okay, good point. So I guess Olivia, you're up next.
Oh, yeah.
She's here. Yes.
I'm here.
I have to tell you, your art, even that you dare describe it as a mural. It is really very impressive.
Thank you.
Very, very impressive.
Thank you.
So the question that I would have for this is how this, from your vantage point, how this particular type of mural will catch the eye of the passers-by as they come down and go up the stairs. It's a beautiful piece. It's a treasure. But tell me how, with the various other pieces that you produced, what is the message? How do you convey the message to the passerby? How does it pass the message? Again, it's a difficult. That's the best question I can give you. But what I'm trying to understand is, to me, you'd have actually a roadblock. You'd have people standing there for hours trying to interpret it. So it's not a criticism. It's actually okay. So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about it, Olivia, and how your murals have been accepted.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that's a big question. So to start out with, for this piece, what I would like to do is I take all of these elements that I feel like honor Milpitas, and especially focusing on the indigenous element of Milpitas, which I know in the whole greater of America, we need to focus more on, especially we need more representation of it in art. It would give that vibe off. And then the idea is that it would be both beautiful from afar, very bright and colorful, would match the existing landscape. But then for passerby who maybe are coming down the stairs or up the stairs, as they go by it, they might catch elements that are not so viewable from afar. So something I like exploring in my art is both something really beautiful and striking from far away, but then as you get up close, you catch all these little details that you couldn't catch up close, from afar. And then I also try my very best to use the architecture of whatever building there is to enhance the work. So this one, it was kind of hard to show on the slide, but if you put the two pieces together that I designed, the flowers sort of fall down around the stairs and go along the stairs or up the stairs like that, sort of mimicking the traffic of passerby. So this one wouldn't be as intensely detailed as some of the pieces that you saw in my portfolio. They wouldn't necessarily be pure realism because I'd want to focus more on the meaning behind them. The acorns being an indigenous food staple, the poppies being the state flower, hummingbirds, which are literally one of my favorite parts of being a Californian, is getting to have hummingbirds right outside my window. And then another native bird, and then I would of course add more plants and flowers. So it wouldn't necessarily be a piece that would cause folks to stop and think more deeply about a deeper meaning. It would be more like a celebration of all of these beautiful aspects of Milpitas citizens, both present and historical. It would also, just really beautify that little area. So, each work that I do has sort of a different idea. Some of my more really intensely realistic pieces are, it's hard to see in the photos, but they're actually eye level. So the idea is that you walk up to them and it's almost like walking into a gallery, but outdoors. I thought in Philadelphia, it was really important for me to do really detailed, intense work on that level because the amount of folks who are able to go to a museum got lower and lower, especially during COVID, of course. So it was important to me that folks could access really considered realistic but painterly art without having to go to a museum, so that they pass it every day and just as beautiful as something they might have to pay money to go see. So that's sort of my ethos, is I want to provide art that is that level. So that's what this piece would be. So I hope that sort of answers your question. If you want me to clarify on any point, let me know.
Great answer. Thank you. Appreciate it.
One quick question, Olivia. Well, when you are going to install it, Is there any way for it to be visible in the night? Would there be any possibilities of light fixtures or anything?
Yes. So my budget would include lighting. I would hire somebody to help out with that. I don't think I included it in the original budget because I was thinking about expanding it and I wasn't sure how to quote that. But I would make sure that that was taken care of. I have some experience with making sure that murals are lighted. So I would hire somebody. I do know a couple people in San Francisco who could help me out with that.
I see. Thank you. Thank you. That's something I wanted to know.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and Ryan, Jaida, do you have any questions for Ryan?
Not right now. John, I also wanted to ask you that I wanted to go through each painter with all of us and kind of discuss each one of them, the ones who are not here, and kind of go through what we are thinking, and that would be, and then start numbering a little bit. What?
Yes, yes, we will. I suspect, and we'll talk a little bit in a while, that it's going to be very hard to make a singular decision this evening.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I agree.
What I think we'll move towards, but I think we should run through all of these and see what questions we want to share with each other. I'm not looking or not suggesting that we offer comments that sort of suggest that they just are not appropriate or anything like that. I just want us to, as a group, share our thoughts on each of these, and then we'll go back. And my thought is, unless Tegan has a better suggestion, that we ultimately decide on 3 top candidates and come back at an appropriate time in a matter of days, hopefully, and go through those in detail again, invite the artists if it was necessary, and make a final decision. So that's my proposal.
Yeah, we don't need to rush this. We've spent some time, coming up with this whole thing. So I want to be really, not be rushed into it.
Yeah, and we've got 8 great applications. So
fantastic.
I think we've got to give all these artists the benefit of the time to go through it very thoroughly. Tegan, did you want to add anything to that?
I was just going to share that one way that this is often done is to run through the commissioners or the panel and see what your top 3 are for each of you. And that sort of helps focus the discussion a bit. But obviously you can choose any way that you prefer to arrive at your decision.
No, I think that's a good idea. Unless we've got babies to put to bed, I think we can spend the time this evening to do it promptly. I like the idea of Commissioner Ghosh's suggestion that we just go through each of these. We can just discuss between us questions and issues that we might want to address. Then I think we'll go back, Tegan, and individually ask the commissioners to give us their 3 top candidates. And you've actually presented them all in sequence, so so that I don't mess up on anybody's name. We can always call it a candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. Anyway, so let's start with Amanda Len. What questions, what issues would you like to address, Sandeep or Benjamin? Whilst you're doing that, let me pull up my notes. Okay. Amanda Lynn, I guess you've already answered this, but just to iterate again, you've indicated that you're willing to address local fauna, the local habitants, animals in Milpitas. What about the comment made by several artists about the Ohlone, the Indians, original natives? We have a history here of several different generations. The Ohlone, obviously, the native Indians have been here for thousands of years. But then we had the early pioneers and the Spanish influence, et cetera, all the way up to our current diverse community. So would there be any thought or willingness to in somehow incorporate that? I don't know how you would do it, but and I'm not asking you to change anything. I mean, this is your mural, but would there be any thought to collaborate a little bit on the somewhat of the diverse history of our community?
Definitely, and I think a kind of interesting way to do that could possibly be through patterning and things like that. I actually done a lot of outdoor sculpture conservation in the San Jose and South Bay area. So I've worked on different pieces that I've dealt with that are from the Ohlone time and inspired by that. So, you know, I think that there would be really beautiful ways to incorporate that. And I know there's a lot of animal symbology as well about those tribes and things. So I think that could.
Okay. We are also right in the middle of the flight path for the geese that fly across here, and of course the butterflies, the monarch butterflies, come right by us. And there's some discussion with the local water district to add butterfly attracted plants. I'm not quite sure exactly what those are, but fauna that will just yeah. Okay.
I am definitely a butterfly person if you look at any of my work, so that would not be a problem either.
Okay.
May I just, Amanda Lynn, earlier when you were answering a question, you also mentioned that you use figures, and two of the examples that you gave us have faces in the picture. And I think I heard you say that that would be something also that you would potentially consider.
I love doing figural work. It has been, the reason I didn't include a lot of it is because I found with city organizations and government organizations that tends to sort of bring up issues. So a lot of times they prefer my natural work. So that was sort of what I was presenting. But I love to paint figures.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Amanda Lynn? All right.
She's the colors and everything is so vibrant. I mean, I know anything she will, you know, concept that she comes up with will look fantastic. So I don't think we have to, you know, we just have to figure out what exactly our theme is and how we want to portray it on that wall.
Right. Thank you, Amanda Lynn.
Thank you.
For your time. Thank you for your patience.
Of course, I'm painting a mural right now, if you can tell. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, is that something you're painting now? It's so awesome.
Yeah, I'm in someone's room in their house right now, so I'm glad I can make it. But have a good night.
Yeah. Okay. The next was next artist, well, item 2 is Beltran. And let me just quickly go through them.
Angel Beltran.
Yeah. Yes, it was not clear, Tegan. Some of these were paintings and some were murals. The examples that one that intrigued me because it was more figurative was the one with the sculpture in the center, or just slightly left of center, and the mural behind.
However, I felt, I've seen so much of the kind. I mean, it is very beautiful, and it does, it's very literal. But I just kind of felt that I've seen it's not something unusual,
Yeah.
and you might just pass by, and it's not really going to jump out at you. His last one, on the other hand, which had the more modern look to it with the light on the top,
Yeah.
that seemed, I mean, it's hard to visualize because, as Tegan said, you can't really make out where the city is, but it's quite interesting. If he was here and if he could explain what it was, it would have been great. But that's the one thing it was interesting, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to see how that would appear as a mural on that in that particular site. You're right. Actually, I can't. My printer is black and white, so I had to go back to my computer to really get the benefit of it. But I agree. I mean, yes, I agree. The base of the mural, though, it's not clear how much of that would be visible from Montague, the expressway.
I mean, there isn't much contrast in the colors he has chosen, so which is why it's kind of almost can become a blur, not really understanding what exactly he wants to speak about.
Right. However, he does include lighting, and I do think that that is something that I think I would prefer to see myself, so that we can see this and enjoy it any time of the day.
Yeah, I mean, when normal times come in a couple of years, that road is always full of traffic. People are just standing for hours. So something which is vibrant, they're coming back from work really late, is what I'm trying to get that, okay, that's something, they look forward to looking at. And every time see something new in it, which is what I had that kind of a feeling. And even the gentleman who, the very last person, Peterson, and with his abstract paintings, and the Olivia, the lady with the parachute painting.
Yeah.
Those are the things which I'm like, I want people to have a lasting impression, and okay, I saw this last time, and next time I'm driving, I'm seeing something else. And so those are those I think would be, I would want to see things that I want to come back to, not just drive by.
Yes, I say they would suggest, though, that in terms of this particular artist's proposal, this is more in line with how is it Philip Gould, the artist who put the banners, who designed the banners for the crosswalk itself, and the silhouette that he intended of the hills. So that there is a tie in terms of where Philip was going with his art and Angel. So
very true, very true. Yeah.
All right. Do Benjamin or Sandeep, do you have any comments, one way or the other, with Angel's work?
I have no comment.
No comment. Thank you, man. Okay. All right. you know, Tegan, one of these days we're going to get Benjamin actually to put his video on so we can actually see. I think some of the time he's in his pajamas. Okay, the next one was 3. We talked with.
Francisco Ramirez,
Yes.
the next one. Yeah.
Right. And a different approach, a different concept. One of his pieces that he used as an example was the Land Trust of Silicon Valley, and I'm very familiar with them. And I'm ashamed to admit that I actually have not seen this one on Coyote Ridge, which is unfortunate. I wish I had. Jorita, it seems like you and I are the ones having the conversation here. But there were a couple of things I actually kind of liked, and maybe this is, I like the idea of the stanchion, adding the stanchion and also adding the butterflies on the overhead portion. But it raises the question, and this may be a question for several of the other candidates. You mentioned the review or discussing this with engineering. Tegan, is that, from an engineering standpoint, is that the city, our city engineers, or is that it's something to do with the transit area?
City engineers would be my first stop for sure, because the piece is owned, the structure is owned by the city.
Oh.
So they have someone else building it for them, but it's ultimately owned by the city when it's finished.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, our engineering people would be the ones that would weigh in.
Oh, okay.
And it would not just be structural engineering. We would also have to talk to the traffic engineer, because the stanchion in the middle of the road, I mean, that's where cars are going, you know.
No, yeah. How can you do that there?
Well, I mean, from a actual painting project perspective, we need to block the road to do it. But the other question, sometimes traffic engineers have concerns about artwork being distracting. And so I don't know if they would, if that's the reason they didn't give us that piece. Originally, we would need to check with them and see. It may just be oversight. They may just have thought nobody would want to paint on, you know, that pillar.
Yeah.
But so it may be a simple yes, you can do it, or there may be some reason why they didn't give it to us.
Yeah.
We did talk about the pillar some time back, because why they didn't include the pillar. And that was something we had, I remember it had come up in a discussion.
Okay, well, I would have to research that and see why they didn't give us that, and if they could give us that if we wanted it.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll give you my 2 pennies worth, Jaida. This one, again, there are some alternatives on how you might approach the potential. But assuming, for instance, that that engineering was supportive and there were no restrictions, the idea of, I wouldn't say glorifying, but at least creating a permanent history of where the Great Mall used to be, or what it used to be, is a thought. And here he's showing the production line. I've seen a similar photograph, actually, an old photograph that is very similar to this. So maybe this is where he got his ideas. If I don't want to presume from your standpoint, but it actually is more of a mural that is tradition to the past. And perhaps you are more into a different approach to the mural. But I kind of like the idea of the transit area recognizing that, you know, this is the new Milpitas, you know, and there's the Great Mall that is now something very different from where it started out, etc. So
You are reading my mind, Chair.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that. In fact, especially because, you know, often you have a very different position than I do. So, Jada, correct me.
I really, I like the renditions he has, and it is very detailed, and everything that we wanted in the mural is in here. You know, the history part is here, and he is definitely, you know, the group that's painting is definitely very advanced. So obviously their painting skills are going to be beautiful. I have no worries about that at all. The only, you know, I think for me, the pull is this is also something that we have seen, and then what do we want to give something wow? You know, there are some things which could be quite different, you know. So yeah, this is definitely one of those which I'm thinking about, because I like the way it's developed. A lot of details.
Yeah.
And for the person who's standing there, will stand there for some time to actually absorb it, you know.
Yeah.
So this is not something that you can drive by, but you will want to come back to look at it again.
Yeah, you might even park your car up at the BART station there and walk across to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sandeep and Benjamin, just jump in. You know, I'm not pressuring you to comment because the time will come when I'm asking for a vote. But I won't keep putting pressure on you. If you have no comments, that is fine. The next one was Emily Lincoln. Let's see what notes I had.
Sandeep, what do you think of Emily Lemkin? Hers was a very different perspective.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you, Jaita. From a perspective point of view, it's very different. My main concern is like from a common man perspective, would they find it like what would be their opinion about it? Like, will it be like easier for them to understand what it is resembling to? And that's what I was thinking about that art. Beautiful artwork. Just I have some thoughts about it.
So it doesn't match quite the color. I mean, of course, we can ask if she's our choice, we can ask her to change the colors, but it does not quite, you know, correlate with the flags on the top, right? I mean, it does stand out a lot more because she's using a different kind of paint and all that. I must say I was very drawn to it in the beginning because I thought it was amazing in the night. It looks amazing in the night. But if it needs so much maintenance, I don't know. You know, that's the one thing.
Yeah. Well, like you, Jada, actually, when I went through the first ones, you know, I sort of sorted them through it, and that one just jumped out at me. And I kind of like the geometrics. I like the, you know, and I think people will look at it. I think driving, they will look at it. They say, what, you know, but.
And the fact it changes colors in the night.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually had a note, how long does the paint last? Well, you know, that is my concern, is the maintenance.
She was using a paint, Sandeep, where if you are standing in front of it and you take a flash photograph,
Yeah,
it looks different.
right. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you both know more about this than I do. I'm so old-fashioned, you see. Okay. Alice Lee was the next one.
Maybe we can invite this artist to speak to us a bit.
Let's go through them.
Yeah.
Let's see whether or not we can cull down to a
Before,
small.
yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah. Okay. So Alice Lee was the next one. I recall Alice is local, I believe.
Excuse me for a minute. I need to get a charger for my
Oh,
phone.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I'm looking at them.
Keegan, this, okay, this, yeah, okay. So they were using the full budget. Is that right? They were, yeah.
Mayor Tran here. I'm still here. Really great agenda item we have here. I just want to remind my friends here that we should be mindful of the time. Commission meetings typically are about 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours. And when there's a decision that has to be made on the night, like tonight, we provide the presentation from staff, which was excellent. And then we provide each applicant or artist in tonight's case to present equally with their time, maybe 1, 2, 3 minutes at the most per person. And then commissioners are recommended to either make a decision of which applicant to go with, or to make a motion to postpone the item until a future meeting date. That way, time management can be done well. And so I just want to drop in for 30 seconds here, but Chair, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We, as you probably heard, the portfolios for each of the applicants, and there were 8 applicants, were fairly extensive. And I think to do a good job for the city, knowing that this is something that is permanent for a lengthy period of time, it was important to talk through and give a fair assessment of each of the proposals. We're working as best we can, and I think, as you probably heard, we're probably going to try to cull through and come up with 3 candidates, and then schedule another meeting to come up with a final proposal for council. And I think we'll do that. I think that the way time is moving on, I think we'll be doing that very, very shortly. Okay, so we've where were we? We were with Alice
We're
Lee.
at Alice Lee, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I don't have any questions on Alice. Any more questions?
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So the next one was Adrian Lippmann. And I had one question there, one comment. I think Adrian is the one that actually has already several installations in our city.
Yes, he does.
Okay. And let me just see if I got any more questions on him. No, actually, I don't have any more questions on Adrian. Sandeep, any thoughts or comments?
Don't think I have any questions about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes.
Okay. So we have Olivia, and I think we had a fairly thorough discussion with Olivia already.
Yeah.
So I think that would be fine with, unless anybody has any other additional comments or thoughts. Okay, hearing none, I shall move on. And then Ryan. Ryan's was interesting from my standpoint because it's a combination of being very inclusive in terms of adding background history for Milpitas, but also doing it in a somewhat modernistic, geometric approach. I kind of like that. The challenge from my standpoint was how that was actually going to be included on the site. And it's not very clear to me how that would actually fit on the site.
Hmm.
All right, okay. If there are no other questions then and no other comments, then let's just go back and if you would individually, if you would consider the 8 proposals and rather than naming them, I think it's easier if you just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way through 8. And give me, or for the record.
If I may, I think it would be easier for staff if you used their names.
Oh, okay.
From a record keeping standpoint.
Okay, all right. So then I'll start with Joyita. Joyita, would you be good enough to tell me the 3 candidates that you would put forth as being the top 3?
I would have for me Olivia.
Okay.
I'm having a tough time because I wanted to hear from Emily Limkin. So though I have my top 3 now, that is one artist I would like to talk to about her paints and her so right now my top 3 is Olivia, Amanda Lynn,
Okay.
and I'm going to go with Ryan Peterson. It's my 3rd.
Okay. Sanjeev.
Yeah, so for me, it's Amanda, Adrian, and Ryan Peterson.
Okay. Benjamin.
For me, it's Amanda Lynn, Olivia, and Alice Lee.
I knew you would like Alice Lee.
Yeah.
Okay. And for me, it is Amanda, Olivia, and where is it now? Adrian Lippmann.
What was Sandeep's?
So I suggested Amanda, Adrian, and Ryan.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So
one way that people often do this at this point when you've given your choices like that is to give points to first choice, second choice, third choice. If you were to do that, which I sort of took the liberty of doing while you were talking, would you care to hear? Would you care to hear
yes,
how that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. If I gave 3 points to everybody's first choice, 2 points to your second choice, and 1 point to your third choice, you end up with 11 points for Amanda Lynn, 7 points for Olivia, 3 points for Adrian, and 1 point each for Alice and Ryan. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Beg pardon. 2 points for Ryan. My math skills are lacking here. It's late.
Okay, so
yeah, so Tegan, the names that I suggested were in the order of my preference. So Amanda number 1, Adrian 2, and Ryan 3.
Yes, that's what I was doing. So for your choice, I gave Amanda 3 points, Adrian 2 points, Ryan 1 point.
That is correct.
Tegan, for me, Olivia was 1, Amanda was 2, and Ryan was 3.
Yes, that's what I had.
Okay.
So if I may, Amanda was your mathematical top choice.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to make a choice yet, Olivia would be your number 2 choice there. And I don't know, maybe you would want to think on it and or have the community give some input. We can certainly do some community outreach.
Either that or we can just include 4 rather than 3 candidates at this point, and take it to the next workshop, the next session, next commission, and talk it through.
If you like.
Yeah, let's do that.
So your top 4 candidates would be Amanda, Olivia, Adrian, and Ryan.
Correct.
Okay. So what I'm hearing then is perhaps I need to chat offline with the artists about the questions that you had.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And perhaps it would be good to get some clearance from engineering, not just some reaction, I guess, from engineering. I'm not asking for a yay or nay, but some reaction. Yeah, I think that's good. Yes.
Yep. I think we were all kind of, it wasn't too difficult.
Well, I don't know. You're right and you're wrong. I mean, I think they were all great submissions. And and I thank everybody for
And we have we have plans of more, right? So
yeah, we have other projects coming. So regarding when to get together again, I've also looked at the calendar ahead, and if you wanted to do a special meeting, your option would be February 8th. which is another Monday, and we don't have a late meeting that night from any of the other commissions.
Let me just.
I think having a meeting on February 8th would really be helpful so that we can make a decision and get the painters to get, they know and start working on it.
Would you like some community feedback prior to the 8th on?
How would we go about that, Tegan?
Well, we'd have to do it online right now probably, but at least with the edge, because it's kind of a contained property, we could probably contact the property manager and get their help in letting the residents know where you are with your thoughts and getting some feedback from the residents.
I would be very happy to have that feedback.
Yeah, I like that. Would there be a card, or would that be in emails, or?
Well, I'd probably try to do it. It's not very much time.
Yeah.
So we would probably try to reach them via email or something and direct them to the packet that's online.
Okay.
So that they can see what's been submitted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or some abbreviated version with the top 4.
I think that's better, abbreviated version of the top 4. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have a conflict on that day, but I'll switch the conflict. And we'd make it 7 or 7:30.
I'd make it at 7.
Okay.
And I just got confirmation from Rochelle that would work in the city's schedule. So.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at?
Is Sandeep going to be there for that? Sandeep and Benjamin?
I'll be there.
We need all 4 of you. We can't have a meeting without you.
That's right. Sandeep, you'll be able to make it?
Yeah, I will be.
Okay, Benjamin, how about yourself?
I should be.
Wonderful. Okay. If for some reason there's a risk that you might not make it, Benjamin, could you let us know as early as possible?
Sure.
Okay, great. All right. Do we have any city liaison reports, Tegan?
I'll make it very brief. The Milpitas Community Theater show that they're doing online is in rehearsals right now. It's called The Show Must Go Online, and they have 15 cast members ages 7 to 17 rehearsing in preparation for virtual performance February 18th through the 20th. So I will send you information via email when, to let you know about tickets and so forth. The Phantom Art Gallery, we've had some technical difficulties, but we're working on those to get that virtual exhibit up with the Golden Hills Art Association. And we're hoping to have a public reception online for them. And I wanted to check your schedules. I was actually thinking of, we had talked with them about doing it on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and wondered if you would be able to drop by on I guess it would be the 7th or the 6th of February.
When you say drop by, you mean Zoom wise or?
Yes, virtually drop by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not real. Not
sure,
in life.
sure. No, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
When will we get a chance to see the virtual how it the gallery itself
Yes.
beforehand? Okay.
Yes, it will be finished before that. We're working on it. We've recently gotten a new server that's allowing us to move a little faster on that project, so we're very happy with that.
Great. And the Chamber of Commerce, I don't know how we're going to slot that in, but I did have a chance to see the various submissions, and they're going to follow up with you, Tegan, but if there's a way to include them in the gallery, that would be appreciated.
The Chamber of Commerce is a separate exhibit, I believe, right? Is that what you're?
I don't know. I think when you see it, it's a fairly limited number of submissions. I'd say maybe a dozen. So I'm not sure whether that's.
Yeah, from a page loading standpoint, I think we want to probably make them their own thing, not combine them on the same page.
Okay.
And as I'm looking at the calendar here, the 7th, which we had talked about with the ladies, is the Super Bowl. So that's perhaps not the best day for us to do something. And maybe we're talking about Saturday the 6th is a better choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's the old and the young, actually, at this time, isn't it? In the Super Bowl. Okay, very good. Then are there any other matters? Please include for future agenda items, Tegan, the discussion on the work plan. I forgot the title we came up with, but the diversity issue to be incorporated, if that could be included.
You wanted to talk about a public art master plan being added to your work plan.
Exactly.
Is this the
Chair,
mural?
if I may, before this meeting adjourns, I wanted to ask commissioners here to nominate anyone they may know here in town, a fellow resident or friend. I would love to consider their appointment to this commission. It's always great to serve on a body with friends and people you know, especially. So I don't mind that at all. We got some empty seats here on the Arts Commission, and I can get them appointed pretty quickly once I connect with them furthermore. But we definitely need some more members on this Arts Commission. We are at a minimum, clearly, and so please, I'm asking if you know anybody, please send me an email, and you can possibly serve on this commission with your friends. Yeah, so.
Thank you, Mayor. We actually have a candidate, a young student candidate. I'm not sure whether that's been submitted to you or not yet.
I'll take a look. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I do see a virtual raised hand. I just don't be remiss if I didn't.
Yes, thank you. That's Mr. Mehta.
Again, I wanted to let the Arts Commission, the chair, vice chair, and as well as the recreational administrator and city staff, everybody know that the process, through the selection process, for the artist has to be a little bit more cumulative and also to be interactive, so such that more and more artists be becoming inclusive to the commission. And I also wanted to mention about that as more officials from a city, they will be involved. They will exactly be able to know that what it is that required to accomplish the goal. I also wanted to mention that there are certain federal, state art commission, art pillars and exhibition that can be included that would enhance the Arts Commission's presence within the city of Milpitas. And also the law regulation would also be required to be applied, so such that the meetings that is being extended from longer hours, that can be concise as well. Certain times it is important to evaluate that what artists would be able to do and contribute to the city of Milpitas. But however, it is also to know that this process, the evaluation process, the selection process, it requires a certain efforts to be put across, and as well as have the Arts Commission linked to the county, linked to the state, and as well as linked to the federal level as well, so that the city of Milpitas gets the label, the metro label, and gets to the point where they become a more international entity rather than a city or a metro entity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Unfortunately, I heard, I'd say about 60% of what you were saying. You were coming and going, but it sounds to me that you're reflecting our desire too. So you're echoing our sentiments. I should add, as Mayor Rich, as you probably just heard, is talking and encouraging us to find additional commissioners. And if you are a local resident of Milpitas, you should be submitting your application. It's very easy to do. It's on the city website, and it's a very straightforward form, and it doesn't take too long to complete. So please consider it. Okay, I think we've reached the end. Thank you very, very much, commissioners. Thank you, Mayor, for attending and lasting with us. And thank you, Tegan, for all your work. I appreciate it. And all of you have a good evening. And we'll see you on the 8th.
Time you're adjourning the meeting?
I'm adjourning the meeting.
At 10:03?
At 10:03.
Longest
Thank you,
meeting.
everybody.